This man clutches a tendril from the horse, then lifts his own narelle braid. The second the two connect, the horse jolts violently but quickly calms down because a telepathic link forms between the man and the beast, letting them understand each other without a single word. This is how the Na'vi tame creatures. They stand 3 meters tall and possess 4 times the strength of humans. For centuries, they live in harmony on the planet Pandora until humans from Earth invade. It's 254. Earth's resources are severely depleted, leaving humanity's survival hanging by a thread. Scientists discover Pandora, a planet 4 light-years from Earth, which is rich in mineral resources enough to solve Earth's crisis. But the Na'vi are deeply connected to nature. Human mining would destroy their home. That's why they loathe humans with every fiber of their being. To get close to the Navy, scientists merge human and Na'vi DNA to create avatars, biological proxies controlled by human operators. But disaster strikes right when the project hits a critical stage. The operator of one avatar is killed in a robbery. Since the avatar can only be controlled by someone with matching DNA, his identical twin brother, Jake, becomes the only candidate. Jake used to be a Marine. A combat injury left him paralyzed from the waist down. He's tired of living a half-life, craving a cause worth fighting for. He climbs into the link chamber and connects to his avatar for the first time. Regaining the use of his legs feels like a rebirth. Before long, Jake fully masters the avatar's body. His impressive progress catches the eye of a colonel. The colonel scoffs at the scientist's avatar program, advocating brute force to seize the unobtainium. He orders Jake to infiltrate the Na'vi, find their weaknesses, and convince them to relocate within 3 months or face a full-scale military attack. In return, he promises to cure Jake's paralysis. Jake agrees to the deal, becoming a mole for the military. One day, Dr. Grace, the project's leader, flies Jake into the wilderness for a field expedition. Suddenly, a massive beast attacks. Jake panics and flees, jumping off a waterfall and gets separated from the team. A female Na'vi named Inili spots him, recognizing him as a human invader. As night falls, a pack of predators ambushes Jake. Neytiri leaps out, slaying the beasts and saving his life. Jake chases after her to thank her, but Neytiri wants nothing to do with him. Just then, more Wu's Priestade appear. They are the seeds of the Tree of Souls, and only the purest souls can attract them. Now they swarm Jake, clinging to his body. Neytiri is astounded. This is a sacred sign, a miracle to the Na'vi. She decides to take Jake to meet her clan. The Na'vi are divided into many clans. Neytiri belongs to the Almataya clan. Her father is the clan leader, and her mother is the spiritual leader and healer. The clan is curious to see what makes this human so special, chosen by the Tree of Souls. They let Jake stay a Neytiri to teach him their customs and language. Every night, when his avatar sleeps, Jake's consciousness returns to his paralyzed body. Then he reports all he's learned to the colonel. Jake learns so fast. He masters climbing and leaping through the jungle and becomes skilled with a bow and arrow. Neytiri takes him to the Hallelujah Mountains, the nesting ground of the Ikran. For every Na'vi hunter, taming an Ikran is a pivotal initiation into their role. After a fierce struggle, Jake successfully bonds with an Ikran, flying side by side with Neytiri through the skies. Jake earns the Na'vi's trust and is officially accepted into the clan. Slowly, his loyalties begin to shift. He starts to dream of a future where humans and Na'vi can coexist in peace. Dr. Grace sees this change in him and reveals a long-buried truth. Once, the Na'vi and humans lived in harmony. Dr. Grace even built a school to teach the Na'vi human language. She thought the Tree of Souls and the Na'vi's system of ideological communication held significant research value, which was far more important than those minerals. But that peace didn't last. Soldiers raided the school to clear the way for unobtainium mining, slaughtering everyone inside, including Neytiri's older sister, right in front of her eyes. Jake finally realizes the truth. The conflict between humans and Na'vi is irreconcilable. If the two sides can never coexist, where does he belong? After days of getting along, Neytiri and Jake fall in love with each other. Under the Tree of Souls, they connect the tendrils on their neural cues, successfully bonding as mates, but the next day, human bulldozers march into the jungle. The massive machines destroy everything in their path without mercy. It turns out that when the Colonel watched Jake's daily video diary yesterday, he heard Jake admit that the Na'vi needed nothing from Earth, and no matter what humans did, the Na'vi would never leave their home. So the Colonel decides to drive them away by force. To stop the bulldozers, Jake smashes the cameras on the machines with stones. Watching the surveillance footage, the Colonel realizes Jake has betrayed them. He hastily opens the link chamber doors, ordering Dr. Grace and Jake to disconnect from their avatars. Jake is forcibly awakened. He begs the Colonel for one more chance, vowing he will persuade the Na'vi to evacuate voluntarily. The Colonel agrees to give him an hour. Helpless, Jake confesses everything to the Navy, urging them to flee quickly. Feeling betrayed, the Na'vi are filled with rage. They tie up Jake and Dr. Grace's avatars, preparing to launch a counterattack against the humans. Soon, human warplanes arrive, dropping bombs on the Na'vi's home. Bows and arrows prove futile against the mechs and warheads. The Na'vi can only watch helplessly as their home, which they've inhabited for tens of thousands of years, is destroyed. Neytiri's father is also killed in the attack. The Colonel cuts Jake and Dr. Grace's link cables again, branding them traitors and imprisoning them. A soldier who disapproves of the military's actions breaks into the cell, helping Jake and the research team escape. As they board a helicopter, Dr. Grace is shot and her life hangs in the balance. To get Dr. Grace medical help, Jake decides to win back the Na'vi's trust, and there's only one way: taming a Toruk. Torts are at the top of the planet's food chain. No beast dares to provoke them. Throughout history, only 5 people have ever succeeded, and those 5 are known as the Riders of the Last Shadow, the absolute leaders of the Navy. Just as the Na'vi are praying under the Tree of Souls, Jake descends from the sky. He has actually tamed the King of the Skies. This earns Jake back the Navy's trust, and they willingly follow him. Neytiri forgives him too. Now Jake is the Navy's last hope. Jake asks everyone to help save Dr. Grace. Soon after, Grace and her avatar are laid under the Tree of Souls. All the Navy pray, hoping to transfer her soul into the avatar's body. Tragically, Dr. Grace's injuries are too severe. She doesn't survive the ritual. Her death hits Jake hard. He makes up his mind to defend their sacred home alongside the Navy and fight back against the humans. Within days, Jake successfully lobbies 15 clans, gathering over 2,000 warriors to unite and protect Pandora. The Great Battle arrives as scheduled. The Na'vi know the planet far better than humans, using terrain advantages and magnetic field interference to ambush the human air force. However, the Navy's flesh and blood are no match for the mechs, and they soon suffer heavy casualties. Just as the Na'vi are on the verge of despair, hordes of beasts rush out of the deep forest, and tens of thousands of raptors fill the sky. This is Iowa's punishment for the humans. The night before, Jake had prayed to the Tree of Souls, begging for help to save the Na'vi's home. The humans are quickly routed under the beast attack. Iowa has truly heard Jake's prayer, and the Na'vi seize the opportunity to launch a counter-offensive. Enraged, the Colonel refuses to accept defeat. He puts on his battle armor, jumps out of his downed warplane, and intends to kill Jake the traitor with his own hands. Fortunately, Neytiri arrives just in time, shooting him dead with a single arrow. In this battle, Jake successfully leads the Na'vi to victory. The humans are deported back to Earth, but Jake chooses to stay, for he has truly fallen in love with this land and with Neytiri, this brave girl. He makes a bold decision to abandon his human body and officially become a Na'vi. Under the Tree of Souls, Jake's soul awakens in his avatar's body. The man suddenly sees a dazzling glare streak across the sky. Immediately after, dozens of spaceships descend on Pandora, their spewing flames scorching the fertile land. Only then do they realize with shock humans from Earth have invaded again. In the events of the first Avatar film, Jake helped the Navy drive the Sky People out of Pandora. He chose to stay here, serving as the chief of the Omataya clan. Having abandoned his human body, he permanently transferred his consciousness into his avatar. More than a decade passes in the blink of an eye, and now Jake and Neytiri are parents to 4 children. Their eldest son, Nedium, is obedient and sensible, deeply loved by his parents. The second son, Loak, has a fiery temper and refuses to obey discipline. The youngest daughter, Tuk, is innocent and playful. Among them, their adopted daughter, Kiri, has a special identity. She was born from Dr. Grace's avatar body, yet the identity of her biological father remains a mystery to this day. There is also a human boy named Spider living with them. He is the son of the late Colonel Quaritch. When the Sky People were driven away last time, he was just an infant, unable to enter the cryogenic chamber, so he was left on Pandora. With Earth on the verge of collapse, the Sky People plan to conquer Pandora and establish a new home here. So Jake leads his clansmen to launch constant raids and sabotages, seizing some weapons and equipment along the way. To deal with Jake, the Sky People specially form an avatar army. It turns out that before the great battle in the first film, the Colonel transferred all his memories and personality into a clone. It will also take over the Colonel's mission to avenge Jake. He arrives at the forest, where he dueled Jake more than a decade ago with several subordinates. Seeing the remains of his previous life, he flies into a rage and crushes his own skull with one hand. Coincidentally, Jake's children are playing nearby. The Colonel grabs them in one go, forcing them to reveal Jake's whereabouts. The children refuse to give in, saying nothing. After receiving the distress call, Jake and Neytiri rush to the forest, launching an attack to divert attention. The children take the opportunity to escape. However, Spider is thrown to the ground by the shockwave. At this moment, Sky People reinforcement troops arrive, and Jake's family has to go into hiding. The Colonel captures Spider and returns to his base. Jake takes his family back to the clan quickly, planning to move. He knows the Colonel is here for him, and he also fears that Spider might reveal their hiding place, which would put all the clansmen in danger. So Jake abdicates the chieftain position to someone else, and has no choice but to take his family away from this beautiful jungle. They fly for several days, reaching a sea area with thousands of islands to seek refuge. The Metkawina clan lives here. They are a different clan from Jake's family, with greener skin and thicker tails. Thanks to his achievement of defeating the Sky People, the clan leader Tonowari agrees to let Jake's family stay and settle down. Jake's family used to live in a jungle environment, and their survival skills are completely useless here. So the Metkayina teach the family to swim, ride as us, and master the laws of survival in the ocean. But not everyone is willing to accept outsiders. As soon as Tonowari's son Anon sees that Loak, Jack's second son, has 5 fingers, he knows he has Sky People genes. In fact, pure Na'vi only have 4 fingers. Jake's children inevitably suffer bullying because of their bloodline. Under the pretense of fishing, Anon lures Lojak to dangerous waters and dives into the deep sea. When Loak surfaces, the others have long since disappeared without a trace. A ferocious shark suddenly attacks Loak. A much larger creature rushes over to save him. This creature is a toucan named Payatan. Loak feels the kindness emanating from Payakan and helps pull out the harpoon stuck in his fin. A friendship is thus formed between the two. Meanwhile, Spider is enduring harsh torture from the general, yet he still refuses to disclose any information about Jake's family. The Colonel can't stand to watch and shuts down the machine. In fact, he recognized Spider as the son of his human self the first time they met. Even though he's a clone, strictly speaking, Spider isn't technically his son. Their paternal bond can be severed, and he can't turn a blind eye to Spider's suffering. The Colonel takes Spider away from the base. This time, he plans to follow Jake's old playbook, fully integrate into the Na'vi way of life. Only then can he take down Jake's entire family once and for all. Forced into compliance, Spider leads them to the Ikran nesting ground. Before long, the Colonel tames an Ikran with sheer courage and perseverance. Spider can't help but look at him with a hint of admiration. On the other side, Tonowari's daughter takes Jake's children to the Cove of the Ancestors, a sacred site for the Reef clan. Beneath the waves lies a tree of souls. Kiri brings her neural cue to connect with the tree, longing to communicate with Iwa, but suddenly suffers a violent seizure. Desperate to save his adopted daughter, Jake has no choice but to contact his human friend at the lab for help. Little does he know, this single move will put everyone in mortal danger. The helicopter carrying his friend is detected by the Colonel's forces. The colonel deduces Jake's approximate location and heads there to search, but the area is dotted with hundreds of islands and villages, yet find no trace of Jake whatsoever. So the colonel hatches a trap to flush Jake out, hunt the toucan. The reef Na'vi share a profound lifelong bond with the toucan. Killing one is like murdering a member of their own family. The colonel commandeers a toucan hunting ship. They blow open a passage through the toucan's mouth to his skull and extract a vial of yellow fluid. It's a substance that effectively halts human aging. A single vial is worth $80 million. That's why the Sky People hunt the toucan relentlessly. The colonel deliberately dumps the toucan's corpse back into the ocean as bait. Soon enough, the Metkayina clansmen discover the body. Jake spots a tracker embedded in the toucan's flesh and realizes it's the colonel's doing. He warns the Reef clan that any toucan hit by these trackers is doomed to die. Tonawari immediately orders his people to warn all toucan to stay away from the devices. Lo and his siblings swim out to the open ocean to alert Payakan, but they are too late. Payakan has already been hit by a tracker. The colonel's ship is closing in fast on the horizon. Lo immediately radios his father back at the clan, begging him to send help right away. Everyone grabs their weapons. The colonel's men capture the children and tie them to the ship's railings as hostages. Moments later, the clansmen arrive at the scene. Using the children as leverage, the colonel forces Jake to come aboard a ship by himself for talks, threatening to kill the kids if he refuses. At that critical moment, Payapem breaches the surface and slams straight into the ship's deck. Its thick, tough hide is impervious to bullets. Meanwhile, Jake and the others mount their ski wings and launch a fierce attack on the vessel. Nadiam seizes the chance to board the deck and unties his siblings. He tries to lead them to safety, but Loak refuses to leave. He's determined to rescue Spider. They locate Spider and make a run for it, but come under heavy fire during their escape. Nadiam is shot and dies tragically. Blinded by vengeance, Neytiri fights like a warrior possessed, even breaking her bow in the heat of battle. Seeing that the tide is turning, the colonel grabs Kiri to threaten Jake and Neytiri. In a desperate gambit, Neytiri grabs Spider, offering a hostage swap. The colonel claims he doesn't care if Spider dies. Without hesitation, Neytiri slashes Spider's chest. The colonel finally caves in and releases Kiri. Jake and the colonel engage in a brutal hand-to-hand fight. Jake finally manages to lock the colonel in a chokehold, knocking him unconscious. The colonel sinks towards the ocean floor. Spider initially tries to flee, but when he spots the unconscious colonel, he can't bring himself to leave him. A blood tie he can't deny compels him to act. In the end, he rescues the colonel. Kiri uses her powers to command marine bioluminescent creatures, which light up the entire cargo hold. With the help of these magical beings, she manages to rescue her mother and little sister from the sinking ship. The family collapses into each other's arms, exhausted and broken, but Netiam is gone forever. He will never get to share this moment of reunion. Spider drags the colonel onto a rock jutting out of the sea. When the colonel regains consciousness, he urges Spider to come with him. The Spider flatly refuses. He chooses to return to Jake's family.